Welcome to Beyond the Evidence, where the facts meet the unexplained, and every mystery has a story waiting to be uncovered. Here, we dive deep into the chilling world of murder mysteries, vanishings that defy reason, and phenomena that blur the line between reality and the unknown. So, grab a flashlight, hold your breath, and join us as we go Beyond the Evidence.
On a crisp October evening in 1998, the small town of Laramie, Wyoming, nestled among the vast windswept plains, exuded its usual serenity. The golden light of the setting sun cast a warm glow over the landscape, a tranquil facade that belied the chilling events about to unfold. In this seemingly peaceful corner of America, an act of unspeakable violence would ignite a nationwide reckoning on hate and prejudice. Matthew Shepard, a 21-year-old college student at the University of Wyoming, was a bright light in the lives of those who knew him. With his infectious smile and boundless kindness, he embodied hope and resilience, dreaming of a future where he could make a difference. Openly gay in an era marked by conservative values, Matthew faced a dual reality in Laramie, a place of academic promise but also of simmering intolerance. He couldn't have known that a night intended for connection and camaraderie would instead lead to a tragedy that would forever change the narrative of acceptance in America. Laramie's stark beauty often concealed its deeper complexities. Beneath the charm of its wide streets and quiet cafes lay a community grappling with the tension between tradition and progress. For Matthew, his unyielding optimism and courage made him both a symbol of hope and, tragically, a target for hatred. His story, marked by vulnerability and strength, became a powerful testament to dreams interrupted by violence, yet transformed into an enduring legacy of inspiration. Born in 1976 in Casper, Wyoming, Matthew Wayne Shepard displayed an early passion for learning and leadership. Excelling in academics, politics, languages, and theater, he earned the honor of representing the University of Wyoming at the Wyoming Environmental Conference, a reflection of his determination to make a meaningful impact. On October 6, 1998, after a meeting with the LGBTQ student group at the University of Wyoming, Matthew Shepard headed to the Fireside Lounge, a cozy bar where locals gathered to unwind. Among the patrons were Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. Aaron McKinney, a 22-year-old roofer, had dropped out of high school years earlier. Known for his volatile temper, Aaron had faced personal losses, including the death of his mother 5 years prior. He inherited a small sum of money, which he used to buy a 1967 Mustang. After a December 1997 arrest for burglarizing a KFC, Aaron moved to Florida with his girlfriend, Kristen L. Price, where they had a son, Cameron, in July 1998. The young family returned to Laramie shortly afterward, settling into a first-floor apartment in a dilapidated wooden house. Kristen, a high school dropout, cared for their infant full-time. Russell Henderson, like McKinney, had dropped out of Laramie High School. He worked a variety of jobs, including roof repair, and had a history of multiple driving offenses, including 2 convictions for drunk driving. He shared a trailer with his girlfriend, Chastity V. Paisley. That night, McKinney and Henderson idled in the bar, bought a pitcher of beer with loose change, and struck up a conversation with Matthew. Trusting and eager for connection, Matthew welcomed their approach. The interaction seemed unremarkable at first, a casual conversation between strangers, but beneath the surface, McKinney and Henderson's intentions were anything but benign. The 2 men offered Matthew a ride, presenting it as an invitation for safety and camaraderie. After spending some time in the bar, the 3 left just after midnight and climbed into McKinney's truck. For Matthew, it was just another evening seeking companionship in a world that often made him feel isolated. For McKinney and Henderson, it was an opportunity to act on their deep-seated hatred. The betrayal unfolded on the outskirts of Laramie, where the quiet, expansive countryside stood as a chilling witness to the horror. McKinney and Henderson drove Matthew to a remote area, far from the reach of any help or observation. There, their false pretense of friendliness turned to brutal violence. After their post-murder altercation, police apprehended McKinney and Henderson. Laramie PD Sergeant Rob Debris took McKinney's statement, where he described how he and Henderson pretended to be gay to lure Shepard out of the bar under the guise of friendship, intending to rob him. They savagely beat Matthew, striking him repeatedly with the butt of a gun. His slender frame offered little defense against their unrelenting assault. The violence was not merely physical, it was deeply symbolic, a cruel assertion of dominance over someone they saw as different. Each blow struck not only at Matthew's body, but at the very ideals of acceptance and love he embodied. When their assault ended, they tied him to a wooden fence, abandoning him in the freezing night, bloodied and broken. The cold wind howled across the desolate plains as Matthew clung to life with a strength few could comprehend. Hours passed in the darkness, a stark contrast to the bright future he had once imagined. After torturing and killing Shepard, McKinney admitted to stealing his wallet and keys, intending to rob his apartment. It was during this journey to Matthew's home that they got into a fight with two other young men. Laramie police sources later revealed that the two women, Henderson's girlfriend, Chastity, and McKinney's, fabricated alibis for their boyfriends, disposing of Russell's clothing in a trash bin. His bloodied shoes were hidden in a storage shed at one of the women's mothers' homes. After the assault, McKinney and Henderson returned to town, where they engaged in a violent confrontation with two Hispanic youths walking down the street. One of them, Emiliano Morales, then 19, recounted the encounter, which occurred just after midnight on October 7th. Emiliano described how his friend, Jeremy Herrera, 18 at the time, had tried to warn him. Jeremy yelled, "He's got a gun," Emiliano recalled, but the assailant struck him in the head and Jeremy intervened with a stick, allowing them both to escape. Emiliano required 21 staples to repair the wound to his scalp, though no charges were filed in connection to this altercation. 18 hours later, a cyclist discovered Matthew's battered body near the fence. Initially, he mistook the lifeless form for a scarecrow, a chilling testament to the extent of the brutality. Rushing to his side, the cyclist found Matthew unconscious but still alive, though his injuries were severe and life-threatening. Matthew was rushed to the hospital, where medical staff fought desperately to save him. The news of his condition spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the community and beyond. Matthew's injuries were catastrophic. His skull had been fractured and his brain stem severely damaged from the brutal, targeted blows. As he lay in a coma, his parents, Judy and Dennis Shepard, arrived at his bedside, their grief and unconditional love filling the sterile hospital room. In the face of unimaginable pain, their presence was a quiet testament to their unwavering support for their son. The town of Laramie, and soon the entire nation, held its breath as Matthew fought for his life. Law enforcement quickly pieced together the events of that fateful night. Witnesses and physical evidence led them to McKinney and Henderson, whose confessions revealed the depths of their premeditated cruelty. The motive was clear: hatred driven by Matthew's identity as a gay man. Their actions were not the result of a random act of violence, but a deliberate, targeted assault on someone they viewed as different, someone whose openness and trust made him vulnerable. The investigation unearthed chilling details. McKinney and Henderson had meticulously planned the attack, intending to rob Matthew after luring him into their truck. But their hatred escalated the crime from theft to brutal assault, fueled by deep-seated prejudices. Physical evidence, including Matthew's belongings and the weapon used in the attack, left no room for doubt. The swift arrests of the two men offered a glimmer of justice, yet the true wounds within the community were only beginning to surface. As the horrifying details of the crime spread, outrage sparked across the nation. Matthew's attack became a defining moment for LGBTQ+ advocacy, casting a harsh spotlight on the prevalence of hate crimes. Vigils were held in his honor, and his parents, Judy and Dennis Shepard, became impassioned advocates for justice and equality. In their grief, they found strength, transforming their sorrow into a powerful call for change. Their resolve galvanized a movement, ensuring that Matthew's story would never be forgotten. The public response was overwhelming. Communities nationwide gathered for candlelight vigils, their collective voice calling for justice and an end to hate. Matthew's story served as a painful but necessary reminder of the deep-seated bigotry still present in society. His name became a symbol of the fight against intolerance, inspiring countless individuals to confront their own biases and push for societal change. However, the anti-gay Westboro Baptist Church, WWBC, soon entered the picture, adding to the Shepard's profound anguish and inflaming the already tense atmosphere. Reverend Fred Phelps of Westboro Baptist Church and his flock, who included children, held placards daubed with homophobic slurs and shouted to mourners that the dead student was burning in hell. The WBC protested outside Matthew Shepard's funeral, shouting hateful rhetoric and waving picket signs bearing derogatory messages. The WBC didn't stop there. They continued their demonstrations throughout the legal proceedings against Shepard's killers, only to be met with fierce opposition from Matthew's Angels. This group, founded by Shepard's close friend Romaine Patterson, donned angel costumes complete with broad white wings, using them to shield the WBC's offensive signs from the public eye. Their peaceful defiance became a symbol of resistance against the hatred the WBC spread. Meanwhile, law enforcement had already arrested Russell Henderson and, following a search of Aaron McKinney's vehicle, discovered a firearm smeared with blood and Matthew's personal belongings, his shoes and a credit card. Faced with this damning evidence, Aaron McKinney confessed to beating and robbing Matthew. The two men were charged with 3 counts of kidnapping, aggravated robbery, and first-degree attempted murder. Tragically, Matthew passed away just 6 days later, on October 12th, prompting the charges to be amended to first-degree murder. The trial of Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson captivated the nation. Prosecutors painted a vivid picture of the crime's brutality, emphasizing its roots in bigotry and hatred. The defense attempted to portray the defendants as victims of their environment, but the evidence was undeniable. Witness testimonies and the defendants' own confessions left no doubt as to their guilt. The courtroom became a battleground of emotions. The prosecution detailed the cold, calculated cruelty of the attack, while the defense tried to shift blame. The testimonies of witnesses, law enforcement, and the Shepards themselves painted an unflinching portrait of the horrific crime, compelling the jury to confront the gravity of what had transpired. Judy and Dennis Shepard's presence in the courtroom served as a poignant reminder of the personal toll of hatred, as they sat through the proceedings with unwavering resolve. Since both McKinney and Henderson were eligible for the death penalty, Russell Henderson pled guilty to murder and kidnapping charges on April 5, 1999, in an effort to avoid a trial. He also agreed to testify against Aaron McKinney in exchange for a sentence without the death penalty. The judge sentenced him to 2 consecutive life terms. Russell Henderson, convicted alongside Aaron McKinney of homicide and hate crime charges for Matthew Shepard's murder 25 years ago, is currently serving his life sentences in a Wyoming prison. In a remarkable act of grace, Matthew's parents, Judy and Dennis Shepard, advocated against the death penalty, choosing instead to honor their son's belief in forgiveness and humanity. Their decision highlighted the enduring power of love in the face of unimaginable loss. While the verdict offered some measure of closure, the Shepards' journey was far from over. They channeled their grief into action, founding the Matthew Shepard Foundation to promote awareness and education about LGBTQ+ issues. Their advocacy became a beacon of hope, ensuring that Matthew's death would not be in vain. Matthew Shepard's murder became a pivotal moment in the fight against hate crimes. It led to the passage of the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act in 2009, a landmark law that expanded protections for victims of bias-motivated violence. His story galvanized a movement, inspiring countless individuals to confront prejudice and work toward a more inclusive society. The Hate Crimes Prevention Act, signed into law by President Barack Obama, marked a significant shift in federal legislation, expanding protections to include crimes motivated by gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. For many, it was a long overdue acknowledgement of the systemic discrimination faced by marginalized communities. Matthew's legacy endures through plays like The Laramie Project, films, and the countless tributes that continue to educate and inspire. Though his life was tragically cut short, he became a symbol of resilience and the ongoing struggle for equality. Artistic expressions of his story have reached audiences worldwide, fostering empathy and understanding. Matthew Shepard's story serves as a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of hatred and the transformative power of love and advocacy. As we reflect on his legacy, we are called to confront our own biases and work toward a world where every individual is valued and protected. How can we honor Matthew's memory? By building a future where compassion triumphs over prejudice and where no one is left to suffer in silence. His story compels us to ask difficult questions about our society and ourselves. Are we doing enough to create a world where love and acceptance prevail? In remembering Matthew, we are called to action, to challenge injustice, embrace diversity, and ensure that his light continues to shine as we go beyond the evidence.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mysterious and unsettling world of true crime. If you enjoyed unraveling today's story, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us keep bringing you the stories that go beyond the evidence.